You've been told you need 8 hours of sleep, but what if spending more time in bed is actually why you wake up exhausted? Most sleep advice gets this completely backwards. They tell you to go to bed earlier, stay in bed longer, and somehow that's supposed to fix everything. But 6.5 hours of great sleep can leave you more refreshed than 8 hours of broken, fragmented sleep ever will. The problem was never how many hours you're getting. The problem is what's happening during those hours. Once you understand the difference, you can stop fighting your sleep and start working with it. Let me show you exactly how. And let's start by destroying one of the biggest myths out there. The biggest lie in sleep advice is the idea that everyone needs 8 hours. That number gets thrown around like it's a law of physics. It's actually just an average. And averages hide enormous variation. Some people genuinely thrive on 6.5 hours. Others truly need 9, and the range is largely genetic. When you force yourself into a generic 8-hour window that doesn't match your biology, you're not optimizing your sleep. You're just spending more time in bed, often awake, often frustrated. I used to think people who claimed to sleep less were either lying or slowly destroying themselves. Turns out I was half right, but not in the way I expected. The people who feel great on less sleep haven't found some loophole. They've figured out something most people never learn. Sleep quality and sleep quantity are two completely different things. If you've ever slept 9 hours and woke up feeling like you got hit by a truck, while some nights you got 6 and felt weirdly fine, that wasn't random. You're not broken, and your body was telling you something important. It was telling you that the hours alone don't determine how rested you feel. There's a simple 2-week experiment that reveals exactly how much sleep you actually need. Not an average pulled from a study of strangers, but your actual number. We'll get to that protocol in a few minutes. First, we need to understand why you're tired in the first place. And I promise you, it's not what you think. Most people never do this math. If you're in bed for 8 hours, but only actually asleep for 6, you didn't get 8 hours of sleep. You got 6 hours of sleep and 2 hours of lying there, staring at the ceiling, wondering why you're not asleep. That's not rest. That's just horizontal anxiety. Sleep researchers have a term for this: sleep efficiency. It's the percentage of time you're actually asleep compared to time spent in bed. Someone with high sleep efficiency might be in bed for 7 hours and asleep for 6 hours and 45 minutes. Someone with low efficiency might be in bed for 9 hours and asleep for 6. Same amount of actual sleep, wildly different experiences. It gets worse because even when you are asleep, you might be waking up dozens of times throughout the night without ever knowing it. These micro-awakenings last just seconds, not long enough for you to remember, but long enough to pull you out of deep restorative sleep. Your sleep tracker might say you got 7 hours. Your brain knows the truth. I get why people think being in bed counts for something, because it feels like you're trying. Your brain doesn't give you credit for effort, though. Lying in bed with your eyes closed is not almost as good as sleep. Your brain doesn't recover, your body doesn't repair. You're just still, and probably spiraling about all the things you need to do tomorrow. The worst part is this: the more time you spend lying awake in bed, the more your brain learns to associate your bed with wakefulness. You're accidentally training yourself to not sleep. There's a counterintuitive solution to this that actually works, and we'll get to it soon. If time in bed isn't the answer, what is? It starts with finding a number that most sleep advice completely ignores: yours. So, let's figure out exactly what that number is. Forget what the internet says you need, because your sleep need is largely genetic. Just like height or eye color, there's a biological baseline that's uniquely yours. Some people have genes that let them function beautifully on 6 hours. Others have genes that require 8.5 to feel human, and neither is better or worse. Then there's your chronotype, whether you're naturally an early bird or a night owl. This isn't about discipline or being lazy. It's hardwired into your DNA. Telling a night owl to just go to bed earlier is like telling someone with brown eyes to just have blue eyes. You can work with your biology or fight it forever. And only one of those actually works. So, how do you find your actual number? For 2 weeks, set a non-negotiable wake time. Same time every single day, including weekends. This is your anchor. Start with your current average sleep duration, and pay attention to how you feel around 2 p.m. Not when you first wake up, because morning grogginess happens to everyone regardless of sleep quality. The real test is mid-afternoon energy. If you're dragging at 2 p.m., you probably need more sleep. If you feel stable, try cutting 15 minutes off your sleep window the following week. Keep adjusting until you find the minimum amount of sleep where your 2 p.m. energy stays consistent. I spent years assuming I needed 9 hours because that's what felt safe. Turns out I was just sleeping badly for 9 hours. My actual number was closer to 7, and finding that out made a real difference. Now you know how to find your number, but getting those hours isn't enough if they're the wrong kind of hours. Not all sleep is created equal. The type of sleep that makes you feel genuinely refreshed, most people aren't getting enough of it. Not because they're sleeping too few hours, but because something keeps interrupting it. Your sleep is divided into cycles, and within each cycle are different stages. The two that matter most are deep sleep and REM sleep, and they do completely different jobs. REM sleep is when your brain processes emotions, consolidates learning, and generates dreams. Join our YouTube membership and get exclusive perks like early access to scripts, input on future topics about productivity, and connect with a like-minded community that gets it. Click join below and let's build your easier, more intentional life together. It's crucial for mental function and creativity. Deep sleep is where the physical recovery happens. This is when your body repairs muscle tissue, strengthens your immune system, clears metabolic waste from your brain, and consolidates memories. Deep sleep is the reason some people wake up feeling like they actually rested, like they're not dragging themselves out of a swamp. The critical piece is that deep sleep is front-loaded. Most of it happens in the first half of your night. If something disrupts your early sleep, whether it's alcohol, stress, noise, or temperature, you don't just lose total sleep time. You lose a disproportionate amount of deep sleep, and no amount of sleeping in the next morning can make up for it. You know that feeling when you wake up and your body feels like it actually recovered? Like you're not forcing yourself to function? That's deep sleep doing its job, and most people are getting maybe half of what they need. Deep sleep is fragile. There's probably something in your bedroom right now quietly destroying it. It's not your phone screen. It's something much smaller. And we'll get there. First, the counterintuitive part. The best way to get more deep sleep might be to spend less time in bed. And yes, I know how that sounds. I'm about to tell you something that sounds completely backwards. So stay with me. If you struggle to fall asleep, or you wake up frequently, or you spend hours lying awake in frustration, the standard advice is to give yourself more time in bed. Go to bed earlier, sleep in when you can, rest more. Sleep researchers discovered something strange, though. For many people, the opposite approach works better. It's called sleep restriction therapy, and it's one of the most effective treatments for chronic insomnia. The prescription is literally spend less time in bed, not more, less. It sounds like a prank, but it's backed by decades of clinical research. When you compress your sleep window, you build up something called sleep pressure. It's the biological drive to sleep that accumulates the longer you stay awake. If you're in bed for 9 hours but only sleeping 6, you're spreading that sleep pressure thin. Your sleep becomes shallow, fragmented, inefficient. Restrict your time in bed to match your actual sleep time, and that pressure concentrates. You fall asleep faster, you stay asleep longer. Your sleep becomes denser and more restorative. The first week or two feels uncomfortable. You might be tired. Then something clicks. Suddenly, you're falling asleep in 10 minutes instead of 45. There's also the 20-minute rule. If you've been lying awake for roughly 20 minutes, get up. Leave the bedroom and do something boring in a dim light. Read something dull, and only go back to bed when you feel genuinely sleepy. This breaks the association your brain has formed between your bed and wakefulness. When I first heard spend less time in bed to sleep better, I thought it was the dumbest thing I'd ever heard. It took me 3 failed attempts before I actually committed to it properly. That fourth attempt, I was falling asleep in under 10 minutes for the first time in years. Sleep restriction builds the foundation, but there's another layer most people miss entirely. Your environment is probably sabotaging you in ways you've never noticed. So let's walk through your bedroom and fix what's broken. Your bedroom is probably working against you, so let's start with temperature. Your body needs to drop about 2 degrees Fahrenheit to initiate sleep. And this is non-negotiable biology. If your room is too warm, your body struggles to make that drop, and falling asleep becomes harder. The ideal bedroom temperature for most people is somewhere between 60 and 67 degrees Fahrenheit. If that sounds cold, good. You can always add blankets, but you can't subtract body heat. A tip that sounds counterintuitive: take a hot shower before bed. It doesn't warm you up for sleep, it does the opposite. When you step out of that hot shower, your body rapidly releases heat to cool down. You're essentially tricking your thermostat into dropping faster. And it's one of the easiest sleep interventions that actually works. Now, about light. You've probably heard that screens before bed are bad, and that's true. Most people miss the bigger picture, though. It's not just your phone, because any bright light in the evening tells your brain that it's still daytime. Overhead lights are often the worst offenders because they're brightest at eye level. That tiny LED on your phone charger, the standby light on your TV, the glow from your router. Your brain registers them even through closed eyelids. They're dim enough that you'd never notice consciously, but they're bright enough to affect your melatonin production. Tape over them, all of them. Your bedroom should be a cave, completely dark when the lights are off. Then there's noise. You might sleep through the sound of traffic or your neighbor's dog, but your brain doesn't. Each noise triggers a microarousal, a tiny spike in brain activity that pulls you toward wakefulness without fully waking you. White noise or earplugs can make a real difference here. Finally, check your air. Closed bedrooms accumulate carbon dioxide overnight. Stuffy air can fragment your sleep without you ever realizing why, and a cracked window or an air purifier can help. Your environment sets the stage, but what you do in the 3 hours before bed might matter even more. Everything in your evening is either helping you fall asleep or making it harder, and most people have it backwards. Caffeine first. You probably know you shouldn't have coffee right before bed. The cutoff time is an evening, though, and it's probably earlier than you think. Caffeine has a half-life of about 5 to 6 hours. That means if you have coffee at 3 p.m., half of it is still in your system at 9 p.m. A quarter is still there at 3 a.m. So that afternoon pick-me-up is a sleep quality tax you pay every single night. The formula: take your target bedtime, subtract 8 hours, and that's your last cup. For most people, that's somewhere between noon and 2 p.m. I know, it hurts. The math doesn't lie, though. Your brain interprets bright light as daytime, all bright light, not just screens. About 60 to 90 minutes before bed, switch to dim, warm lighting. Lamps instead of ceiling lights. If you're using screens, dim them aggressively and turn on night mode. The goal is to signal to your brain that the day is ending. Your brain produces melatonin in response to darkness, but bright light suppresses it. Every time you walk into your brightly lit bathroom to brush your teeth right before bed, you're pushing your melatonin production back by minutes. Small things add up. The last piece is routine. Your pre-sleep routine doesn't need to be elaborate. It just needs to be consistent. Same basic sequence of activities in the same order, starting around the same time. Your brain loves patterns. Give it a clear signal that sleep is coming, and it will start preparing without you having to force anything. What you do before bed matters. What happens in the first 30 minutes after you wake up, though, determines more than you'd ever guess. The first 30 minutes after your alarm might matter more than any other half hour of your day. Most people spend it in a way that guarantees they'll feel tired. That groggy, foggy feeling when you first wake up, that overwhelming sense that you need more sleep, that feeling has very little to do with how much sleep you actually got. It's called sleep inertia, and it's a transition state that happens to everyone, regardless of whether you slept 6 hours or 9. Sleep inertia is your brain booting up. It can last anywhere from 15 minutes to over an hour, depending on what you do. The goal isn't to avoid it because you can't, but to move through it faster. This is where the snooze button becomes your enemy. Every time you hit snooze, your brain starts a new sleep cycle it can't finish. You're not getting 9 more minutes of rest, you're guaranteeing you'll feel worse than if you'd just gotten up. The snooze button isn't a gift. It's a trap dressed up as one. What actually helps is light. Bright light as soon as possible after waking. Morning sunlight is ideal, but a bright artificial light works too. This light doesn't just make you feel more alert right now. It sets a biological timer that will make you feel sleepy at the right time tonight. Skip the morning light and you're fighting your own circadian system all day. Movement helps too, though it doesn't have to be a workout. Just get vertical and moving within the first 10 minutes. Walk around, stretch, and the physical activity accelerates clearing the sleep inertia fog. Hydration before caffeine, because you're dehydrated after hours of sleep. Water first, coffee second, and your body will thank you. If you follow this sequence, light, movement, hydration, no snooze, you can feel alert after a 7-hour night. Skip it and you'll feel groggy after 9. What if you do everything right, but still have a short night? That's where strategic napping becomes useful. Used correctly, a nap can replace an hour of night sleep. Used incorrectly, it destroys your night entirely. The ideal power nap is 20 to 30 minutes, taken in the early afternoon, ideally between 1 p.m. and 3 p.m. Set an alarm, and this is non-negotiable. Don't tell yourself you'll just rest for a few minutes and wake up naturally. You won't. Why 20 to 30 minutes? Because that's long enough to get the restorative benefits of light sleep without entering deep sleep. If you nap for 45 minutes or an hour, you risk waking up in the middle of a deep sleep cycle, and you'll feel worse than before you lay down. The grogginess from that can last hours. There's something called a coffee nap. It sounds ridiculous, but it works. Drink your coffee, then immediately lie down for a 20-minute nap. Caffeine takes about 20 minutes to start affecting your brain. By the time you wake up, the caffeine kicks in right as you're emerging from sleep. You get the restorative benefit of the nap, plus the alertness boost of the caffeine at the exact same moment. Researchers have tested this, and it consistently outperforms either coffee or napping alone. I call it the afternoon cheat code. Naps can backfire, though. If you have insomnia, napping often makes it worse. You're spending sleep pressure during the day that you need for nighttime. If you nap after 3 p.m., you're borrowing from tonight's sleep. And if you sleep longer than 30 minutes without intending to, you can disrupt your whole rhythm. Napping is a precision tool, so know when to use it and when to leave it alone. Everything we've covered so far works. There's a line, though, and if you cross it, none of these techniques will save you. I have to be honest with you about the risks. Everything in this video is about optimizing your sleep so you can feel great on fewer hours. This only works within a healthy range. There's a floor, and if you go below it, no amount of technique can protect you. The warning signs that you've pushed too far are subtle at first. You start needing caffeine not to enjoy your morning, but to function at all. Your sugar and carb cravings spike because your sleep-deprived brain is desperate for quick energy. You get irritable with people you care about over things that wouldn't normally bother you. Then there are microsleeps, moments, sometimes just a second or two, where your brain essentially shuts off without your permission. You zone out while driving, or you lose track of a conversation mid-sentence. You don't even realize it's happening, but it is. The uncomfortable truth is this: the less sleep you get, the worse you become at judging how impaired you are. You feel used to it, you feel fine. Meanwhile, your reaction time, creativity, and emotional regulation are quietly falling apart. The person most convinced they've adapted to short sleep is usually the most affected. I pushed this too far once. 2 weeks of 6-hour nights, and I was making stupid mistakes at work, snapping at people I care about, craving sugar like my life depended on it. That's when I realized there's a line, and I'd crossed it. This isn't about sleeping as little as possible. It's about finding where quality and quantity actually meet for your body. If you're consistently sleeping less than 6 hours and experiencing any of these warning signs, please talk to a doctor. If you snore heavily, wake up gasping, or never feel rested no matter how much you sleep, you might have sleep apnea or another medical condition that no lifestyle adjustment can fix. This information is meant to optimize, not deprive, so know the difference. With all of that in mind, how do you actually put this together into something that works for your life? Week 1. Focus on 2 things. Lock in your consistent wake time, same time every day including weekends, and audit your bedroom environment. Cover those LEDs, check your temperature, address any noise issues. These are the foundations everything else builds on. Week 2, implement your caffeine cutoff and start dimming lights in the evening. Calculate your cutoff time using the formula we discussed and get some lamps with warm bulbs if you don't have them. Start building your consistent pre-sleep routine, even if it's simple. Week 3, begin compressing your sleep window. If you've been in bed for 9 hours, try 8.5. Use the 2 p.m. energy test to guide you. If you're struggling with lying awake, start using the 20-minute rule. Get up, do something boring, return only when sleepy. Week 4, add the morning launch sequence. Light, movement, hydration, no snooze. If you're having short nights despite your best efforts, experiment with strategic napping, using the parameters we covered. This isn't about finding one perfect routine and following it forever. Life changes, stress changes, and your sleep needs will shift. The goal is to understand these principles well enough that you can adapt them, not to be rigid about every detail. Will you suddenly thrive on 5 hours? No, that's not what this is about, and it's not safe or sustainable. Can you go from needing 9 foggy hours to 7 sharp ones? From dreading mornings to feeling genuinely alert? From fighting your sleep to working with it? Yes, that's absolutely possible. Sleep isn't something that happens to you, it's a skill. Like any skill, it can be learned, practiced, and refined. You're not at the mercy of your genetics or your circumstances, and you have more control here than anyone ever told you. Remember the question we started with: what if you could sleep less and feel better? Now you have the answer. It was never about the hours, it was about what you did with them. And hey, if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button. Also, let me know your thoughts on what I just shared. Oh, and there's more. I've just started a Patreon to help support these videos and connect with you more directly. Check out the link in the description if you'd like to join.